And therefore, if they can control your economy, they can control your country.
Wow. So that's why they want everybody on here paying all their bills and everything on the internet.
As the young people say, that's how they rolling.
So they really can keep up. I mean, it's like no privacy.
Privacy is out of the window. Privacy went out the window, which is what Bush's thing was to do. If you notice, most of the laws that Bush passed while he was in office was basically removing any vestiges of privacy. You have no more privacy. And they're going to remove the Constitution. That's why you see a systematic removal of particularly the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. They're systematically chopping down and removing the Bill of Rights, such that we now have a Bill of Rights coming from the world government, and you'll hear them talking about world governance. Well, you can't have world governance without world government. They won't say world government because that'll alert everybody to what they're doing. They merely say world governance, but you can't have one without the other. That's what they're moving towards. That's the New World Order.
So we won't have any constitutional rights. No rights at all.
You'll have the Constitution that's already in place in the United Nations. That's to be the world political body. That's why successive administrations almost, I'd say for the last 40 years, anytime you have international disagreements, they always take it to the UN. They already have a UN Constitution in place. They have a UN court system put in place. Everything that you have in this government, they now have at the UN. The monetary body is going to be governed by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which is one of those things that you just saw strengthen, okay, with $1 trillion+ that they put into or committed to put into the World Bank. So they now have an apparatus to globally, not just regionally, but globally, again, to begin to conglomerize the economies of all the countries on the planet.
So you're saying that all of this that we just went through with these banks and them bailing these banks out and all of this was done so they can make this one world order and make this one currency?
No question about it. As a matter of fact, sister, that's a very good question or a very good statement because in doing my research, I found out 2 or 3 very important things that everybody should know. One, the G20 is merely a front group. Those are the politicians who change every 4 or 5 years. They don't stay the same. So that you must have a continuation of the process. You have to have something behind the G20 to make sure that they dance by the music that's basically put on their podium. So what they've done is they have something called the G30 that no one ever hears about, okay? The G30 was basically, and you can get this information from Global Custodian for June 1990. Global Custodian, June 1990. There's an article that they did called The Coming of Age, the Group of 30. In that article, it talks about the founding of the Group of 30. It says here on page 77 of that article, the funding impetus for the Group of 30 came from the Rockefeller Foundation in New York. And it's interesting, sister, because everywhere we look, we see the same names keep popping up. And people want to say it's a conspiracy theory because they don't have the information to back up their argument. Our thing is to give you the information to make your argument and dare them to disagree with you. Here's what it says on the next page. They're talking about the makeup of the G30. Some were academics and some were bankers like Jeffrey Bell, now secretary of the group. A central banker, Paul Volcker, then president of the New York Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and a Rockefeller Foundation board member also attended. Mention was made at the seminar of the now defunct Bellagio Group, which is the thing that preceded the Group of 30. Bellagio, Bellagio Group. A prototype.
Wait, spell that one more time.
Bellagio, Bellagio Group. A prototype for what was to become the Group of 30. Rosser had, in fact, been a member of the Bellagio Group, another idea for a group was the Trilateral Commission. And, of course, the Trilateral Commission was founded in 1973, again, by David Rockefeller. One of his prime movers of that was Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was Barack Obama's primary advisor. Okay? He's not in the cabinet, but the people who have the power don't exist in anybody's cabinet. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
These are the people who are behind the scenes. He's responsible for bringing Jimmy Carter to power. Jimmy Carter was the first trilateralist president. When Reagan ran in 1980, he swore he would never have any trilateralists in his cabinet. Lo and behold, he got a bullet. The first thing he did when he recovered was put Henry Kissinger as one of his primary advisors. Henry Kissinger is a Rockefeller boy from the day he came to this country. That's why he's been able to do the things that he's done and transcend no matter what administration is in power. Somehow he's always there.
Mm.
So you can see the power of the Trilateral Commission. And for anybody who wants to study the Trilateral Commission, you can get a book called Trilateralism by Holly Sklar, S-K-L-A-R. Holly, H-O-L-L-Y, Sklar, S-K-L-A-R. All of the economic moves that are being made today, you will find in that book.
Mm. Wow. I mean, and how come no one is really talking about this?
Well, sister, there are people who are talking about it. However,
okay.
You have to know where to go to get to talk. We've been talking about this for over 20 years. My mentor, Steve Copeland, I have to mention that, brother, because if it had it not been for him 25, 30 years ago, my eyes wouldn't have been open. But we've documented these things for 20 years. I've given forums in many different places where we've come with documentation, and no one can refute it. We've given various lectures at the Chicago Theological Seminary, which we call the house that Rockefeller built, where Barack Obama really came from, which is the University of Chicago. We spoke to a number of seminarians there. When we talked about the secret societies like Opus Dei and T2 and the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, they couldn't disagree with what I was saying because there's too much documentation to back up what we're talking about. So that when Reverend Jeremiah Wright talks about the conspiracy aspect of this country's history is conspiratorial. From the beginning all the way up to today, it's a continuation. And the aim, if you go back and look at Manifest Destiny, that basically means that God inspired and basically backs up these people to go throughout the planet to take control in the name of God. Well, sister, I don't know who God they worship, but that can't be my God, because these people have done this through mass murder since the founding of this country, and it continues in the evidence by Iraq all the way up to this day. Wow. Manifest Destiny is nothing more than the early version of the New World Order, because the people who founded this country were primarily Masons, from George Washington to all of your major signers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So as all of this is unfolding right in front of our eyes, we're seeing all of this. That's what all of this the G20, the meetings, when he's over there meeting all the heads of states and countries, that's what they're doing. They're putting together this new world order. And we must understand, Barack Obama, had he not fit the criteria to push their agenda, he would not be there. I often tell people when they say, well, Robert, you're just being critical. No, I'm not being critical of Barack Obama. You see, once you find out what's going on, and we use the term brilliant to describe him all the time. That's all I hear. He's brilliant. Mm-hmm. Well, if he's brilliant, I know he knows these things, because I know him. I'm not brilliant. Mm-hmm. If I know him, you think that he knows him? Right.